All is well. Death is nothing at all. I have only slipped away into the next room. I am I, and you are you, and whatever we were to each other, that we are still. And call me by my old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way that you always used. Put no difference in your tone. Wear no forced air of sadness or sorrow. Laugh as we always laughed at the little jokes we enjoyed together. Play, smile, think of me, and pray for me. And let my name be ever the household word that it always was. Let it be spoken without effort and without the trace of a shadow in it. Life means all that it ever meant. It is the same as it ever was. Why should I be out of mind because I'm out of sight? I am but waiting for you for an interval somewhere very near, just around the corner. All is well. And we are gathered here to celebrate the life and to honor the memory of Olivia Bibby. And while it is the death of Olivia that has brought us together, it's her life that we wish to remember. You are here by your common love, your common respect, and your common grief. And this is not only an occasion for sorrow, but also an occasion to be thankful for the gift of life and be thankful that Olivia lived among us. So on behalf of Olivia's family, thank you for being here today with them in a celebration of her life. 2 announcements. First announcement is, at the end of the service, well, we'll call it not the end, but certainly part of the service, at the very end, I will be inviting Rihanna to come back, and she's going to have an open mic, which means that you will all have an opportunity to share a special memory that you may have of Olivia. And I'll let you know when that time arrives. And second is, following the open mic, everyone is invited to join with the family for a reception. That's going to be held right here in the funeral home on the lower level. And today's service is going to be a simple, non-religious service, which will be in keeping with her family's wishes. The tree of life. The death of each of us is in the order of things. It follows life as surely as night follows day. We can take the tree of life as a symbol. The human race is the trunk and branches of this tree, and individual men and women are the leaves, which appear one season, flourish for a summer, and then die. I too am like a leaf of this tree, and one day I shall be torn off by a storm, or simply decay and fall, and mingle with the earth at its roots. But while I live, I am conscious of the tree's flowing sap and steadfast strength. Deep down in my consciousness is the consciousness of a collective life, a life of which I am a part, and to which I make a minute but unique contribution. When I die and fall, the tree remains, nourished to some small degree by my manifestation of life. Millions of leaves have preceded me, and millions will follow me, but the tree itself grows and endures. Now, I would like to invite the first of our 3 speakers to come and speak to us, and that would be, the first is a good friend of Olivia's, Mike Hines. Right here.
When the family politely asked me to say a few words, I was reminded distinctly of how Olivia had once vociferously demanded to be best man at my wedding. I hope in some way that she would take my speaking here as close enough. I first met Olivia when we were 16. I moved to a new school. I was trying out a new thing where I was mean and obnoxious. There was a bit too much truth in that laugh. Yet there's obviously no accounting for taste. because she quickly made up her mind that we were going to be friends, and I didn't have much say in the matter. And all these years later, I can only thank her for her stubbornness and the times that we shared. In the years after we first met, we grew into adulthood together. We spent years and many nights adventuring into the nooks and crannies of our sleepy town. Our long walks brought us all over, drinking wine in the streams, climbing trees, skipping stones. We were miscreants with a heart, loitering with beer cans in alleyways, but only to find the perfect setting to talk about our favorite poems and favorite books. And my God, was she always on about Haruki Murakami. Some of our favorite haunts, she once told me, were the ones with a certain placelessness. The softly lit brick alley by the street, with a scuffed bench at the train station with a view of the tracks stretching out into nothingness. Places you couldn't place anywhere because they were everywhere, distinct by being so common. Olivia had a knack for poetry like this, the poetry of the overlooked and the ordinary. Just a few weeks ago, she walked by a gift of flowers in the garbage can. What was unremarkable to most of the world, she turned into a heart-wrenchingly sad and beautiful photograph, capturing someone's love and rejection for us to experience. She had a taste for the bittersweet, and she felt the world so strongly. She poured herself into the world, and the world poured itself back in rushing waves that made her at once crazy and beautiful. This trait of hers was, I think, part of what made her so empathetic, so understanding, and so selfless. She would bend over backwards and then inside out to make sure that someone could feel better. I remember one October evening when I just started my first job. When we were biking off for a night in the town she'd be looking forward to, just the two of us. But the second she realized the anxiety I was having, she stopped dead in our tracks. Instead, she spent the whole night on a park bench, just listening and consoling me. Because in Olivia's world, everyone she loved, and even though she barely knew, always came first. There's a debt of care and love that I feel I owe her, but now I can't pay back. And I'm sure that many of you carry the same weight, or a heavier one. The last year, she'd been wanting to go on a crazy adventure in the summer, just like when we were young, and I hadn't made the time for it, kept putting off. And the pain of losing her now is coupled with my own anger. I'll never get any more time to make that right. But I need to remember, and I think we need to remember, that this feeling is me being selfish, and us being selfish. Olivia already gave us all the love and time that she had, and we can't ask for any more from someone so selfless. We can only emulate her and give our own care and love to those we have now as selflessly as she did for us. Doing this day in and day out isn't easy. And some days the pain and sadness and confusion will be too much. Keep this in mind. You're not alone in feeling this way. Olivia also lost those she loved just as tragically. I'd like to have us please take her own words of solace and comfort now from her to us. She once wrote, "I know that we are all struck with the same feeling, one that is so difficult to grasp. Whatever the feeling is, it has no shape or weight. You can't really do anything with it or about it. It's just there and smoldering. So this is for you too. For all those who are hurting, remember that you are loved. Sorrow can give us strength and a better understanding of our love, an understanding of what someone has given us, of how much of them is in us all. And it's okay to feel it. Our hurt will be enormous so that we may grow enormously. Forgetting you would be impossible. You are forever in our hearts." And Olivia, You'll be there forever too.
Thank you very much, Mike. And now I'm going to invite Olivia's stepmother, Shelley Bibby, to come and speak to us.
I really didn't want to speak today. And for those of you who know me, you know that I'm rarely at a loss for words. It's not easy to get me to shut up, usually. I didn't want to speak because I thought it would just be too emotional and I'd be a blubbering mess. But if Liv was here, she'd encourage me and tell me I can do it. So here goes. I was looking around the house trying to find something inspirational in the boxes of mementos that we all keep, with things like elementary school photos and baby teeth and crafts from summer day camp. And as I was looking through the stuff, I realized that I'd first met Olivia when she was 5 years old. That's nearly 23 years ago. So you'd think that I could come up with something other than a lock of hair, or a 6-year molar, or a painted rock. I did also find an old Barbie pencil case, some nail polish with sparkles, and a Tamagotchi with a worn-out battery. And then I found this. Bingo, I thought. It's a birthday card that Olivia made for her dad only a few years ago. I thought for sure there'll be some profound and eloquent Olivia-isms. She was such a talented writer. She was so expressive and really was able to precisely capture a thought with words. So here we go. It says, "Happy Orbit Day, Dad. Have a wonderful day. Never stop learning, loving, spinning, living." Okay, so maybe at first it seems like it's not Olivia's most philosophical work. There are no obvious, insightful concepts. But I think that it captures her perfectly. It was how she lived her life. She never stopped learning. She never stopped loving. And even though she is not here with us right now, she's still spinning and living in and around each of us. Thursday night, I had quite a long dream with Olivia in it. And I remember being really confused and asking her what she was doing here. I thought you were gone. She said, "I just came back for a little visit." So today's a sad day. And I know for sure that Olivia would not want us to be sad. She would want us to keep learning, to keep loving, to keep spinning, and keep living. And like she did in my dream, she will come back for a little visit in our memories.
Thank you very much, Shelley. And now we're going to invite Olivia's sister, Ria, to come and deliver a poem.
I want to read a poem that was Olivia and I's one of our favorite spoken word poets. I'm not going to do it justice, but I randomly opened it this week and turned to this poem, and it seemed to so perfectly describe her, and so I thought I'd share it. It's called Her Yellow Room. There were birds trapped in that yellow room. You kept bringing them home. Look at this one, you'd say. His ankle is sprained. It looks fine to me, I'd say, and turn back my book. But you kept bringing them home. Lying there in bed, we had to make room for all of them. This one had feathers missing. This one's feathers were coated in something sticky. This one had a strange shake when it walked. I never saw anything wrong with any of them. But they kept on being brought inside, all shapes and colors, flapping around the room, feathers everywhere, shrieking and squawking, dishes of seeds spilled all across the carpet. I tried to read. With so many birds, it began to smell like the zoo. With so many birds, fights would break out. They'd peck at each other, pull at the wings, pull blood. Some nights you could calm them. They would start to sing, quietly cooing. Whatever they were all screaming about and clawing at would cease. They would soften, stay still. You sat on the floor with them telling a story. I would put my book down, listen. Their heads gently bobbing like the ocean. Like them, I felt coated in feathers, as white as the first ones. I was so soft. The room was so soft. Time passed, and there were too many of them. You had to start taking things out to make space for the birds. First little things, the lamp, television, dishes from the floor, the record player and its records. Then the furniture started going. The nightstand, the orange chair from the corner, the chest of drawers. You stacked your books into towers and threw out the bookshelves, but eventually the books went as well. The birds started eating them. The books I had given you were cut up to make nests. Some books you hid under the carpet, but the birds found them. We got rid of the bed, the sheets, the pillows, and slept on the floor. They slept in your socks. They got into everything. They got ill, started coughing, their feathers falling to their feet. They shed their skin, became bald and quiet. You would stay up with droppers of medicine. It smelled like sickness. I would try to sleep, but I couldn't. When I did, I dreamed of you singing. All I wanted was to sleep and hear this. I would wake and ask you to sing to me, but you couldn't. You had given too much to the birds. Your voice, the notes you held in your breast. I watched how quiet the world in the room became. It felt like a town that had emptied of all but us, and we hoped that wasn't the case. Or perhaps we were the town and the room was a pair of bodies silently moving through us. I stayed inside until the feathers pushed me out the door. The last I saw of you, it looked like snow had fallen in your bedroom. You were holding as many birds as you could in a tight embrace. Your arms full of wings and beaks. You were singing silently into their staring bodies, their heads bobbing as they were still coated in white feathers. I curled my fingers around my shoulders and walked off backwards, my head nodding like theirs.
Thank you very much, Rihanna. The comfort of having a daughter, a sister, a niece, a cousin, and a friend may indeed be lost, but the joy of having known that person is never lost. To match the grief of losing Olivia, you've had the joy of knowing her. The joy of which you become especially aware at this moment as you fix her living image in your minds and recall the characteristics that made her unique to you. So at this time, I invite you to recall your own personal memories of Olivia as we listen to a very special piece of music that Mike's going to cue up for us. I understand it's her grandmother
That's
singing.
100%. For those who fancy coloring books, and many people do, here's a new one for you. A most unusual coloring book that you will ever see. Crayons ready, very well, begin to color me. These are the eyes that watched him as he went away, colored in gray. This is the heart that knew he would always be true. Colored blue. These are the arms that loved him and held him and lost him somehow. Cover them empty now. This is the tie he wore when we ended our dream. Colored green. This is the room I walk in and weep in and talk in and sleep in. Color it lonely now. And this is the man whose love I depended upon. Color him gone.
Creating a meaningful ceremony when death impacts us can sometimes assist us with emotional and physical transformation. Often, the death of someone we know and love can temporarily disconnect us from ourselves and the world around us. And as we search for some sense of balance, we have to make some internal adaptations to our new outer reality. Someone who has been physically present in our lives is gone. And by participating in a meaningful ceremony, it helps us to begin to recenter ourselves and to make that necessary but painful transition from life before the death to life after the death. I am a survivor of suicide, and I'd like to share with you a few thoughts about that. When someone has chosen to end their own life, there are so many questions. And the why, always the why. Then the what ifs. What if I had said this? What if I hadn't or had done that? If only. Being a suicide survivor leaves me with a permanent scar in my heart. It will begin to heal, but it will always be there. This is compounded with the stigma surrounding suicide, and it makes many people suffer in silence. Well-meaning friends and family think that not to mention the cause of death will make it somehow easier. But let me assure you, it will always be the elephant in the room. I also learned that the would-haves, could-haves, and should-haves will eat you up, and you need to let them go. While we cannot understand why a loved one would act with such sudden finality, we need to know that Olivia is not alone. Each year, thousands of Canadians make the same choice. Mostly the experts tell us it is a decision to end their burden of depression. Fighting their illness, their minds drawing them ever further inward, they have grown weary of life. Depression can strike the sturdiest of souls. It cares not how much you have achieved or how much you have to live for. Much more work is required surrounding the issues of mental illness. Unfortunately, I did not know Olivia. However, after having spoken with her family in preparation for today's service, listening to the tributes, I think I have a better sense of who Olivia was. Words that I heard to use to describe Olivia were loving, empathetic, insightful, giving. When I asked her family what they admired most about Olivia, they said this: her talent she displayed as an artist. And if Olivia could look back on her life and identify one thing that she was truly proud of, what would that be? I'm told it would probably be her entering the social work program and the very strong friendships she made in her life. And when I asked if there might be a message perhaps she might want to leave us present here today about living life in general, I was told it could be this: cherish your family and cherish your friends and embrace togetherness in your lives. I like that. Embrace togetherness in your lives. Some time ago I read a book entitled Tuesdays with Maureen. It's a wonderful book. It's got some great life lessons. Some of you have read it. But one of the quotes of the book I'd like to share with you is this: as long as we can love each other and remember the feeling of love we had, we can die without ever really going away. All the love you created is still there. All the memories are still there. You live on in the hearts of everyone you have touched and nurtured while you were here. He then goes on to say, death ends a life, not a relationship. I believe that. I believe our relationship with those people that we love who have died can continue, but in a very different way now, in our hearts and in our minds. And sometimes when we recall those memories, again, not only of Olivia, but also of other loved ones who have died, we will experience loneliness and sorrow. And we need to experience our grief, but we need to express it in healthy ways, through supporting family, through supporting friends, and through tears. A poet once said that sometimes the clouds need to weep themselves till they're in order for us to have a clear sky shine out from behind them. And we need not fear or avoid our tears when they come. I believe that the most important part of life for each of us is to reach out to others in love and to allow others to love us in return. I think it's really important during our lifetime that we endeavor to experience that fully. Sometimes love resembles different things in different people. I believe the best kind is the kind that says, you know what? I love you just the way you are, even though I may not understand or agree with everything you say or do. Hopefully the kind of love that we are involved in here today. So as we leave this service, let's think what that might mean to us. Who are those people we've been meaning to call or visit, just to let them know that we do care and we love them, but we'll put it off for another time or the right moment. I would encourage us to not put it off, to reach out and take that hand, offer that hug, and let those people know that we do care and that we love them completely and unconditionally. If someone in our life deserves our love, then they also deserve to know they have it. And it's very simple. I love you. So in love, you will keep the memory of Olivia alive, and in gratitude recall the human image that she's left you. You'll share your thoughts and feelings, and so you will support each other. Well, a few years back, Oprah interviewed Maya Angelou on the occasion of one of her birthdays. Maya said some very interesting things. She said this, I've learned that every day you should reach up and touch someone. People love a warm hug or just a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. And I've learned that people may forget what you said, and people may forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And you will never forget how Olivia made you feel. In closing, a poem called Love Will Never Go Away. Spring and the land lies fresh and green beneath the yellow sun. We walked the land together, you and I, and never knew what future days would bring. Will you often think of me when flowers burst forth each year, when the earth begins to grow again? Some say death is so final, but my love for you will never die. Just as the sun once warmed our hearts, let this love touch you some night. When I am gone and loneliness comes, before the dawn begins to scatter your dreams away. Summer, and I never knew a bird could sing so sweet and clear until they told me I must leave you for a while. I never knew the sky could be so deep a blue until I knew I could not grow old with you. But better to be loved by you than to have lived a million summers and never known your love. Together, let us, you and I, remember the days and nights for eternity. Fall and the earth begins to die, and leaves turn golden brown upon the trees. Remember me too in autumn, for I will walk with you, as of old, along a city sidewalk at evening time, though I cannot hold you by the hand. Winter, and perhaps someday there will be another fireplace, another room, with crackling fire and fragrant smoke, and turning suddenly, we will be together. And I will hear your laughter and touch your face and hold you close to me again. But until then, if loneliness should seek you out some winter night when snow is falling down, remember, though death has come to me, love will never go away. At this time when words say so little and tears can say so much, we gather to return to the natural cycle of life and death. That part of Olivia that cannot remain with us. But there is a part of Olivia that'll forever live on in you and through you. And you're wise enough and strong enough to know that you must go forward, although life, like all journeys, is never without its backward glances. You share your thoughts and feelings, and so you support each other. We have been remembering with love and with gratitude a life that has ended. Let us now return to homes and work resolved that you who live on will live to better purpose for having known Olivia and for having shared in her life. My name is Ian Empey, and once again on behalf of Olivia's family, thank you for being here today with them in the celebration of Olivia's life. And now I'll invite Rihanna to come to us again and open the open mic.
So that got a little mixed up, but we still have had some planned speakers that we would love to come up and give their eulogy. So the first person who
Just go right to the microphone so everybody can hear. Good.
the first person I'd like to invite up is Danny Johannes, and he's a long-term family friend. We grew up as children together, and he'd like to share a few words about Olivia.
Thank you. All right. I think we all know how we're feeling today. Yeah, I'm a little taller. Yeah. All right. I don't think I'm going to be as eloquent as maybe Mike. I put it quite well. I'm not very good with words. This sucks. It really sucks. This is how I'm feeling. Not having Olivia around. It's been very difficult. Rihanna, thank you for everything you've done and for allowing us to say a few words here. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dan. I used to be called Danny. Olivia and Randy used to call me Danny. And I'm one of 5 boys. There's 2 other ones of us over there. We're the brothers, and growing up, Randy and Olivia were pretty much family. You know, they were the girls next door. So I guess my first memory of the first memory of the family would have been, we moved in next door, and I ran to the backyard, this nice big backyard. I'm like, okay. And I see Connie, and you're holding Rihanna, and you're just kind of like holding her. There's a guy beside you with a shirt off, and he's slamming a post into the ground. I don't even think he was using the tool. Was he in? It was terrifying. I went back inside. Yeah, so that's my first memory of the family. But the second memory, actually, with Olivia that I recall was actually before she was born. I was sitting in your kitchen, and Connie, you were pregnant, and you circled on the calendar for us the due date. And first thing that came to my mind was, what's she going to look like? And what's her personality going to be like, right? I think we all kind of know what Olivia's personality is like. And I can give you a little bit of what she displayed to us, because we were very protective of the girls growing up. Olivia was kind, compassionate, a lot quieter than you, Rihanna. She was very creative. I think that came from you. She also, she's a good listener. She listened very well to stories. And I remember she loved story time. My mom, Mama Indy over there, would read her stories at bedtime, and she just wouldn't go to bed. So, I mean, we kind of moved on. We moved off the street years later, and I was fortunate enough to reconnect with Olivia a few years ago. And it took a while. I think Mike, you touched on this, just trying to find the time to meet up, right? So it took us about a year, and we eventually did meet up. And I was curious to see what the type of girl Olivia had turned into, and she was the same girl, same personality, slightly taller, not much, but she was still bubbly, and we hung out, and we had a lot to talk about, to catch up on. Eventually, I decided to play matchmaker for a few friends, and I can't do that anymore because it didn't work out, but I was supposed to be third wheel on a date, so I ended up texting Olivia, and I said, hey, Liv, you want to go see a show? And she's like, yeah, sure, I'm down. I'm like, okay, well, it's a musician. Yeah, sure. Who is it? And I'm like, well, it's James Bay. She's like, oh, awesome. Who's that? So we ended up going, Olivia tagged along, and we left. I apologize for James Bay fans in here. We left like 20 minutes in, and we went back and we just talked. You know, and I think that's one of the main things that I remember of Olivia, is that she was a really good listener, and she wanted to know people's stories, and she liked that human connection. She really liked just learning about people. So yeah, we just we connected, and it was her birthday coming up. So I said, hey Liv, I gotta get you something. What do you want? You know, tell me. She's like, no, I don't want anything. I'm like, no, you need something. Like, just tell me, what do you want? And she's like, you know, make me something. And I think that's sort of a testament of the type of person Olivia was, is that, you know, she cared more, and she didn't care what I made. She's just like, make me something. And that really stuck with me. Her birthday came and went, and again, I wasn't able to connect with her. And that was the last time I saw Olivia. And that was tough, because I think nobody's guaranteed tomorrow, or even the next breath. And in the case of Olivia, I think the best way we can maybe honor her and what she stood for is just to listen to people, like really listen to people, because you know, that helped me, and that was the type of person she was, and I'm pretty sure she's still listening right now. And we miss you. Thanks.
I'd like to ask Emily Gallant, formerly Emily Ray Hughes, who is another longtime friend of Olivia, and grew up together as children from Nova Scotia.
there's so many things that I would want to say and to describe what Olivia means to me, and I don't think I could. I'm going to say what I want to, what I think I want to say, but I don't express myself as well as she did, and I just cannot portray enough how much she means to me and how much she impacted my life. Anyone who knows me well knows how much Olivia Bibby means to me. However, I know Olivia means so much to so many people, and I'm so deeply sorry for all of those who are grieving the loss of our beloved Liv, especially her parents and her siblings. Olivia is loved by all who have ever had the pleasure of knowing her. Olivia's spirit, uniqueness, and beauty captivated everyone. You could not help falling in love with her instantly. I'm so fortunate to say that in my life I have had Olivia as a best friend, a roommate, a summer sister, a protector, and an educator. I met Olivia at the school bus stop on our very first day of grade 3. We quickly began a friendship that became my first true friendship, one that shaped the rest of my life and many friendships after that. Being with Olivia always felt like home, and her acceptance, compassion, intelligence, and authenticity are traits I've always admired. Olivia lived down the street in Nova Scotia until middle school, which is when she moved back to Ontario. One would think this is where we would have parted ways, but I believe this only made our friendship stronger. After Olivia moved back to Ontario, we became the summer sisters. We would go from not seeing or talking to each other for months at a time to hanging out with each other every day, all summer long, like we had not skipped a beat. I remember being anxious hanging out again for the first time that very first summer. But as soon as I saw Olivia, it was like we had never been apart, and from that day, I understood the meaning of a forever friend. Olivia became a member of my family, and I felt like I was a member of hers. I spent many days and hours at the Bibby house on Chestnut Street. And that is where I remember some of our fondest memories. Our photo shoots, hanging out in the attic, the best playhouse ever in the backyard, making Gabriel and Elliot play with us, eating Ian's homemade pies, spending countless hours talking to Shell in the kitchen, and our many sleepovers where I'd almost spend the night, but then Olivia would end up walking me down the hill so I could go home and sleep. And I'm going to blame her for that, for telling me there's a ghost that lives here. But no matter what, despite that she had to walk me home every night down the street in the middle of the night, Liv never got mad or upset with me, she just accepted me. Olivia ended up moving back to Nova Scotia in our final year of high school. And although I know this was a very difficult decision for Liv, I'm forever grateful for the memories we created that year together and all the years that followed. Olivia was always there for me during the happy milestones in life, like moving to university and my wedding day. Olivia was there also for the heartbreaking moments, like when I was grieving the loss of a loved one, despite the fact that Liv had so much going on in her own life at the time. Liv never made me feel like a burden or like she didn't have time for me. She always made me feel worthy and special. She always made me feel cherished and important to her, no matter what battle she was facing in her own life. Olivia made everyone feel this way, and that is not an easy feat. The most valuable thing I've learned from Olivia is the meaning of unconditional. Olivia respected, accepted, and loved all she encountered in life. And no matter the circumstances or who they were, including my family and so many of my friends who became close friends with Olivia, because that's just how infectious she was. I was not the perfect friend, and I would be lying if I said we never disagreed or that we always got along. I know there were times where I let Olivia down, and I deeply regret that. But no matter what happened, Olivia always accepted me with open arms and loved me unconditionally. Olivia's soul was too pure and kind for this cruel world we live in. No matter what, Olivia always wanted others to feel loved and accepted. She did not judge, and she did not spread anything but kindness and peace. Olivia was an artist who was an angel put on earth to make our lives brighter. Olivia was so eloquent in her written word. She was wise beyond her years, and her ability to write was so artistic and beautiful. Whether it was a descriptive poem, a detailed essay, or a simple note, I loved reading Liv's writing, and her penmanship is forever etched in my mind. Olivia used her writing to express herself, but to also uplift others. 6.5 years ago, when I was grieving the loss of my aunt, I came home to our apartment one day to find a handwritten note from Olivia, which I still have to this day. Liv wrote, please know that I'm thinking about you and I love you very much. The next little while is going to be difficult, but you are strong and you are loved, so I know that you will make it through. All my love, Liv. XOXO. Olivia, your beautiful spirit, radiating smile, your laugh, spunk, and giant heart will never leave my mind or my heart. But it is devastating that you suffered like you did, despite the fact that you have such a brilliant light in this world. Although I feel deep despair for the loss of your life, I promise you that I will work to live my life in a way that honors you and your legacy. Although Liv's physical presence on this earth is no longer, her legacy will shine on because of the impact she has made on all of our lives. Let us spread kindness, love unconditionally, respect others, and work towards peace in honor and memory of our dear Olivia Quinn Constance.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. The next person I would like to invite up is Kim Watson, one of Olivia's, her best friends. And enough said.
The birthday gift is a piece of parka she gave. It was a bad idea. To Olivia, you live your life defining empathy. It's hard to give praise when all you feel is grief. But the odd thing is that grief is seeded by praise. It's made possible by it. I know that because at the bottom of my sorrow is a foundation made of happiness. You are my home. There was a rare experience of fun and expression when with you. Your smile was so crazy, it lit up the room. It lit up your soul. Our souls, actually. There are not many people in the world who can make me feel how I feel about you. There's only you. You taught me to not be afraid of the space that I take, to not feel ashamed of filling a page. You once said to me that I could write to you until my fingers turned to nubs. Thank you for teaching me to exist shamelessly. Losing you is like losing the only person who knows your name, the only person that speaks your language. So even though I've lost you and have become sleep deprived through grief, I know that you will always be my true friend. I know that my love will continue for you as our friendship will always be rising. You will always grow and live in our hearts. This commitment is the side effect of loving you, and I'm so grateful. We had promised each other that neither of us would die, which, even though it was realistically impossible, I must now understand it that we had meant it as symbolic and in spirit. So the love that we felt in you and for you will always be with us. It's like a resounding residual heartbeat that echoes in our veins. You can probably feel it now. That's the beauty of love. It's infinite and immaterially timeless, if that makes sense. That's what you showed us. You showed us to be intense, intimate, vulnerable, and how to give affection. You were shameless in the desire to be loved, give love, and to save. You were a soul that was both brittle and hard. You were there for people with the most complex of challenges. You were just there. We will give light to love as we share our stories of you, Liv, and may we live our memories of you as a practice of self-care, because you're so ineffably amazing. As we interact and respect each other in the same way you did us. You gave us the medicine of laughter, love, and compassionate listening. You were thoughtful, spontaneous, nurturing, sensitive, patient, and flavorfully ruthless with your standards. It's an impossible currency has been made by our memories of you. We will meet you again in our stories, memories, and dreams of you. the rarest object of all are these experiences that we've all had with you. And we are by far the richest crowd made possible by having Olivia in our lives, by having you in our life. Let's be real here, Olivia. You're an unforgettable girl, an unequaled manifestation of life, and I will always be proud of you. May we each make a closure for ourselves that eases us in our grief, so that may you never truly die, Liv, although you are gone, as you will never leave my heart. I will always love you, my friend, Olivia.
Love you, Tam. Last, and definitely not least, I'd like to ask my sister Karis to come seated. Everyone seated, please.
I am one of Olivia's older sisters. Olivia, Libby Lister, my sweet, sweet sister. I'm stumbling over words to write because my brain won't let me make sense of them. I haven't seen you in years, Olivia. Though, throughout this time, I wrote an even better copy of this that I'm not reading. Though I am so grateful, we still kept our strong bond of pure love. Looking over our messages and nonverbal forms of communication, there was no amount of sadness or distance that impacted our love. And so, because I really can't find words to comprehend this tragedy, I would like to share the comfort I felt in knowing that you, Olivia, felt brave enough to write me back. You braved your fear, exposing your honesty, your honest pain, but most of all, you shared your love and light. So I would like to share the last letter that Olivia wrote, because she said things much better. It was dated April 12th, 2019. Karis, for what it's worth, and I know it's not much, I've been needing to write to you. I think the biggest barrier that has prevented me from writing is that I really don't have a lot of happy things to share with you or anyone right now. Well, I know that is okay, and within my right to publicly wallow when life calls for wallowing, I'm still inhibited by it, and I hope that makes some degree of sense. The cards and laminated cat creatures you've been sending me have provided me with immense joy. However, they are beautiful. You are so talented. It's in everything you do. Your Karis way is in itself. Please trust my earnestness when it comes to you and your creations and your embodiment of those creations. I think I'm starting to get repetitive now. Some things are hard to put into words. When will you be returning to Ontario? I hate that we live so far away. It feels like a lifetime since I last saw you. I'd visit, but I'm in the thick of it right now at school. And needless to say, I lack the funds. Here's to being a student. Tell me about your life, what you do, who do you see, what do you eat? What does your house look like? I'm sure it's beautiful. I can't wait for you to come home. But I also like how there is no strain in our relationship. Do you know what I mean? I love you, sister. Liv. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming. Now if we can go downstairs, we can have a bite to eat and talk livisms. Because there's a lot of them. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to stay where we are and allow the family to make their way out of the chapel and downstairs for the lounge. And I'd like to thank you all very much for coming. Thank you.